Greetings, Eagles fans. As the NFL draft inches closer, the anticipation in Philadelphia is reaching a fever pitch. Everyone is talking about the players who could be coming in, about the young prospects ready to join the ranks and wear midnight green. But what's flying under the radar, or at least trying to, is the possibility that the Eagles might not just be adding, they might also be subtracting. One name in particular has suddenly become the center of swirling rumors, and it's a name that hits close to home. Dallas Goedert, the star tight end, is entering the final year of his contract, a 4-year deal worth $57 million. And while that deal once seemed like a long-term investment in one of the league's most versatile and productive tight ends, it now feels more like a ticking clock. With the draft about to kick off in Green Bay, the buzz around Goedert isn't fading, it's growing louder. There's real chatter that Philadelphia could be seriously exploring the idea of moving him, especially if the right offer comes along. The team isn't desperate, they're not in a rush, but they're listening. And in the NFL, that's all it takes to spark a potential deal. Trading a player like Goedert isn't just about parting ways with talent, it's about making a calculated decision that could free up cap space and bring back valuable draft capital. It's about shifting priorities, resetting the board, and looking at the bigger picture. And right now, with only 1 year left on that sizable contract, the Eagles are in a position where they have to consider every option on the table. This isn't the first time Goedert's name has popped up in trade speculation. But what's different this time is the timing. The NFL draft changes everything. Teams get aggressive. Desperation creeps in. And franchises that thought they had their board figured out can suddenly find themselves empty-handed at key positions. That's when the phone calls start. That's when general managers start asking, what would it take? Enter the Indianapolis Colts. According to recent reports, Indy could be one of the most likely suitors if a trade for Goedert goes down. They're not alone, of course. The Baltimore Ravens are also in that mix, especially if something unexpected happens with Mark Andrews, or if they simply want to double down at the position. But the Colts have a very clear need. They've got a young quarterback they believe in, a developing offense that's hungry for consistency, and a coaching staff that knows the value of having a reliable tight end, especially one who can block, run crisp routes, and be a legitimate threat in the red zone. And that's the thing with Dallas Goedert. He isn't just a good tight end, he's a complete one. He does everything you ask of the position. He can line up in line or flex out wide. He creates mismatches against linebackers and safeties. He's physical after the catch. And when Jalen Hurts needs a safety valve, it's Goedert who often steps up. That kind of player doesn't hit the trade market often. But here we are. What could a potential trade look like? That's the million-dollar question. The Eagles aren't going to give Goedert away. They value him too much. But they also recognize that the value may never be higher than it is right now. 1 year left on the deal, still in his prime, healthy, and coming off another solid season. If a team like the Colts misses out on the top tight end prospects in the draft, and let's be honest, there aren't many elite names at the top this year, they might feel the pressure to act. And Philadelphia will be right there, ready to talk. There's also a bigger picture at play. Think about how teams like Cincinnati could shake things up if they make a big move in the first round. Say the Bengals go after an edge rusher early, potentially honoring Trey Hendrickson's trade request. That could trigger a domino effect across the league, shifting priorities, cap situations, and veteran availability. The NFL draft is not just about rookies. It's about leverage, about timing, and about which teams are willing to pull the trigger to get what they need right now. So as the draft gets underway, don't just watch the picks, watch the sidelines, watch the war rooms. Because behind every name called, there are deals being discussed, veterans on the block, contracts being restructured or offloaded, and among them, Dallas Goedert is one of the most intriguing names out there, not just because of his talent, but because of how many ways he could tilt the balance for another franchise. The Eagles, for their part, are staying quiet. No leaks, no bold declarations, but make no mistake, they're watching the board just as carefully as any other team. They know that if the right team misses out on a top tight end, their phone might ring. And when it does, they'll be ready. This isn't a teardown. This isn't a rebuild. This is strategic. The Eagles are one of the best-run organizations in football. They know when to push their chips in and when to fold. Trading Dallas Goedert wouldn't be about giving up. It would be about setting up the next move, about keeping the roster flexible, about finding value before it disappears. And for Goddard, if a trade happens, it might not be the worst thing. He'd likely land on a team that values him highly, that needs him, that's ready to feature him as a key piece. Whether that's Indianapolis, Baltimore, or someone else entirely, the opportunity is there. In the next few days, everything could change, or nothing might happen at all. That's the nature of draft week. Possibilities hang in the air like thunderclouds. What's certain is this: Dallas Goedert is in the conversation. And when a name like that starts circulating, there's always a reason. Now let's take a deeper look into what trading Dallas Goedert would actually mean for the Philadelphia Eagles, not just in terms of roster construction, but in terms of identity. Because let's be honest, this offense has leaned heavily on his presence over the last few seasons. Whether it was scheme screens, play action, boots, or those signature RPO looks, Goedert was a fundamental part of how this offense operated. His reliability on short and intermediate routes gave Jalen Hurts a safety net that helped stabilize the offense during turbulent stretches. That doesn't get talked about enough. Removing a player like that isn't just about the numbers in a spreadsheet or the money on the cap. It's about the trust factor. About knowing there's a guy who will fight for yards after contact, who will get his hands dirty in the blocking game, and who won't fold under pressure. You can't teach that. You can't manufacture that overnight with a rookie. And you sure as hell can't replace that midseason if things don't go according to plan. And yet, despite all of that, the conversation around his future is very real, and for good reason. Philadelphia's front office knows how the league works. They know the value of flipping veterans for draft capital. They understand how a well-timed trade can set up a youth movement or free up money for extensions down the road. And maybe most importantly, they have confidence in their ability to develop new weapons. That confidence, by the way, isn't just blind faith. It's backed by years of strong drafting and smart personnel moves. The Eagles aren't scared of turning the page. They did it when they let Zach Ertz go. They did it when they moved on from Carson Wentz. And now they could do it again with Dallas Goedert. Not because he's washed up or underperforming, but because they believe in staying one step ahead. It also raises the question, if Goedert is traded, what's next? What does the tight end room look like without him? Well, the Eagles have done their homework. They've been scouting tight ends in this draft, especially those who fit their offensive philosophy. Guys who can block, who can be a factor in the run game, and who can develop into reliable pass-catching threats. Don't be surprised if Philadelphia uses one of their early picks on a tight end they believe has that long-term potential. Or maybe they already have someone on the roster who's ready to take a bigger role. It's not unheard of for this coaching staff to elevate players they've been quietly developing behind the scenes. But even with a plan in place, there's a risk. Trading a player like Goedert doesn't come without consequences. There's the obvious short-term impact, chemistry, rhythm, and a potential hole in the offensive scheme, but there's also the fan reaction. Philadelphia is a passionate city. Fans know their football, and they know when a guy is giving everything he has on the field. Dallas Goedert is one of those guys. You don't just replace his presence with a highlight reel or a hot prospect. You have to prove that the move makes the team better, not just in theory, but in action. Let's not forget the locker room either. Trading away a veteran leader sends a message. Sometimes it's about business, sometimes it's about strategy, but every move has ripple effects. Leaders step up, younger guys get more responsibility, and coaches have to recalibrate their approach to keep everyone locked in. That's part of what makes this potential trade so delicate. It's not a no-brainer. It's a high-stakes chess move. Of course, there's also the money. The salary cap may be going up, but managing it effectively is still the difference between sustained success and a quick flameout. Goedert's contract, with 1 year left, at a high value, represents both a burden and a bargaining chip. If the Eagles can get significant draft compensation and offload his salary, it opens up space for other deals, maybe for a future extension for someone like Devonta Smith, or to reinforce the defensive side of the ball. That brings us back to the draft, because in many ways this entire conversation revolves around how the board falls on night one. If teams like the Colts or the Ravens miss out on their preferred targets, they may feel more pressure to trade. If Philadelphia sees a tight end, They love falling to range. They might pull the trigger on a move faster than expected. Timing is everything. It's also worth remembering that this team still has Super Bowl aspirations. This isn't a rebuild year. This is a team trying to get back to the top of the NFC. They got stars all over the field. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Haason Reddick, Darius Slay. They're not in the business of punting on a season. So if they're even considering moving on from someone like Goddard, it's because they believe they can do it without taking a step back. Maybe that means trusting the development of Jack Stoll or Grant Calcaterra. Maybe it means finding a hidden gem in the draft. Or maybe it means adding a cheaper veteran off waivers after the draft dust settles. Whatever the plan is, you can be sure the front office already has multiple contingencies mapped out. Now, if we switch focus for a second, there's also the question of what Goddard might be worth on the open market. What's his trade value? That's tough to gauge. Some teams might look at the contract and hesitate. Others might see it as a fair price for a top-tier tight end who can help them win now. A second-round pick? That feels realistic. Maybe even a second and a late-round sweetener if there's competition. If 2 or 3 teams are interested, the bidding could heat up fast. And from Goddard's perspective, a move could be energizing. New team, new city, new offense. Sometimes players just need a fresh chapter to unlock another level in their career. He's still in his prime, he's still hungry, and he's good enough to be a primary offensive weapon in the right system. For fans, this is the emotional roller coaster that comes with following a team built to contend. Every offseason brings tough decisions. You grow attached to players, you memorize their numbers, you celebrate their touchdowns, and then one day, their name pops up in trade rumors and everything changes. That's the price of competing at the highest level. But if we've learned anything about this Eagles front office, it's that they don't operate out of fear. They make hard calls. They trust their scouting. They believe in their depth. And most of the time, they get it right. So as we head into this draft, keep your eyes on the tight end position. Not just on the college prospects, but on the veterans quietly sitting in the background. Because while all the headlines will be focused on rookies shaking hands with the commissioner, the real moves might be happening behind closed doors. Dallas Goedert might still be an Eagle when the dust settles. Or he might be suiting up in a different uniform come week 1. Either way, the Eagles are making moves with one goal in mind, staying ahead of the curve. And for a team with this much talent and this much ambition, every single decision matters before we continue. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL landscape, the Philadelphia Eagles have pulled off one of the most surprising transactions in recent history by acquiring none other than Micah Parsons, the defensive superstar from their fiercest rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. The announcement came early this morning and instantly set social media ablaze as fans and analysts alike tried to wrap their heads around a deal few thought was even remotely possible. Parsons, widely regarded as one of the league's most dominant defensive players, has been the face of the Cowboys defense since entering the league. His explosive athleticism, unmatched versatility, and relentless motor made him not just a Pro Bowl regular, but also a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, year after year. To see him now wearing midnight green instead of the Cowboys' iconic blue and silver is something many fans are still struggling to believe. The Eagles organization has remained tight-lipped about the exact terms of the deal, but sources close to the situation suggested involved multiple high draft picks and a blockbuster financial package. With the addition of Parsons, Philadelphia is making it clear that they're not just aiming for a deep playoff run, they're gunning for a Super Bowl and are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. The rivalry between the Eagles and Cowboys is one of the most intense in all of sports, and this move only adds more fuel to the fire. Parsons now shifts from villain to hero in the eyes of Eagles fans, while his departure is sure to leave a bitter taste in the mouths of Cowboys faithful. What remains to be seen is how Parsons will adjust to this dramatic change and how his presence will reshape the NFC East's power dynamic. One thing is certain, the NFL just got a lot more interesting. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.